Meanwhile, in some former British colonies, the Queen's death is accelerating calls to remove the monarchy. In Jamaica, there's been a push for years to cut ties with Buckingham Palace and to move towards a full republican system that does not recognize the monarch. Now, to get her perspective on the issue, we've reached out to Rosalie Hamilton. She's the co-founder of the Institute of Law and Economics and a member of the Advocates Network, a group that's been pushing for republicanism in Jamaica. She's joined us before. Welcome back, Rosalie. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
When you heard that the Queen had died, what was your reaction?
You know, a mixed reaction. Obviously, the death of any human being is not something to celebrate. And if we celebrate it, it's celebrated in a tradition in which there was a respect for life and so on. So on a human level, I understand that, and I understand many, especially in Jamaicans in the older generation, who have mourned her death. But she also represents, she's symbolic of an institution that is just a reminder of a very painful past. And so those emotions are there as well, they're real. We're talking about our ancestors, our parents, our grandparents, or who've all in some way been negatively impacted by that history. And so it's that which I think is spurring this conversation about ending the legacies of that colonial era and removing the king now as head of state.
This is a situation where, of course, there's the official mourning taking place here in the UK and in Jamaica. Is there a sense, though, that there's going to be an accelerated push by some, like yourself, to remove the British monarch as the head of state?
Yes, absolutely so. You know, there's a lot of people who have not responded in any negative or positive way in Jamaica about the death because they're not connected and they don't understand, they don't see a relationship, you know, and they don't understand why a foreign individual occupies the highest levels of our country in terms of a head of state. And so part of the push is about public education. And so the death has brought more awareness of the history of why people are acting in some cases in a very negative way. And so that conversation is beginning to deepen the understanding of the history and the contemporary reality, the continuity of some of these arrangements. I mean, crime in Jamaica, for example, extremely high. You're talking about intergenerational cycles of violence, and again, rooted in the past, and a number of other things. And so the issue is, what does the Republic mean? And why is it necessary to move the king as head of state? So those are the debates we're having, and that's where the Advocates Network has been in the forefront of bringing discussion forums online and in homes and in communities and so on. That's where we think we have to focus in order to build awareness.
There is also now, of course, a new monarch, a new Prince of Wales, a new generation, and if you include the Prince of Wales, quite a young generation. Is there any thought of engaging with this next generation to involve them or to pressure them, I suppose, to push towards independence?
Well, you know, there are young people who are part of the Advocates Network, and they have their own views, and they, in fact, have none of the emotional connections that the older generation have of the Queen. They don't have those memories and those fond kind of views and feeling that was based on the way in which we were socialized and educated, and you know, there was always very positive images of the Queen. So they grew up in an era where they don't see the connection. And so when they understand the past, it's a very easy conclusion for them to say, no, we don't need a head of state who cannot apologize for crimes against humanity, who is not prepared to engage a dialogue and an apology and to come to grips with the implications of that past. We're hopeful, however, that the new king has said in Rwanda at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting that he wants to. He said time has come for conversation around slavery, and that he is continuing his process of educating himself about the enduring legacies. So we're hopeful that a conversation can start in this time, under his new reign, and that we can begin that process of reparatory justice.
How and when does that conversation take place? I guess I'm asking, when might we see the next step in your fight for the removal and the continued growth away from the United Kingdom in Jamaica?
Well, right after the mourning period, we will resume our public education, and so that will continue. We await the government's appointment of a constitutional committee to engage that dialogue at the level of the Constitution and what that will mean. We also look forward for the government's public education around what it will take to remove the king. For example, we've never since independence had a referendum. That's required under the Constitution. So what exactly would that mean? What will it look like? That's the kind of conversation we want to have with the public. And of course, importantly, what will it mean for Jamaica when we remove the king? Of course, the aspirations of the Jamaican people are rooted in our history, from emancipation, independence. There are expectations about what full freedom means and what it means for self-determination. And so we see it as an opportunity to deepen our democracy, to strengthen the voice of the Jamaican people, so that we can create a society that truly represents our interests and comes to grips with the past.
Rosalie, thank you so much for your time. This story is not over. I'm sure we'll be talking to you again. I look forward to our next conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tim. All the very best.
Rosalie Hamilton, co-founder of the Institute of Law and Economics, and she joined us from Kingston, Jamaica.